when our member, Susie Coleman, came to my office and told me a story of traveling through Africa in Addis Ababa, meeting Jews who lived there, I thought that the story was absolutely unbelievable. There was no possibility that anyone could travel through Africa and meet Jews in Ethiopia and find out that there were more Jews who were looking to be discovered. But after the adventure went on, I learned about an incredible story. And tonight we have a guest speaker who's going to share a little bit more about that incredible story because of her experience in the world of anthropology. Our speaker tonight, Dr. Malka Shabtay, is an applied anthropologist who has worked for more than 37 years understanding and studying and working with the Ethiopian Jewish community in Israel. She has taught as a professor in many of Israel's universities and colleges, and currently is working as a member of the team at the Ministry of Education with children at risk in Israel. But most recently here in America, she has been traveling sharing a story of Jews around the world who have a story to be told. And tonight, she's going to share with us the story of the hidden Jews of North Shua in Ethiopia, a story that we at Temple Israel have been a part of as we have begun this trip through history to understand our roots. After our services tonight, after we finish Oneg Shabbat, those of you who want to hear more can meet me and Dr. Shabtay in our library to understand further images and pictures and understandings of these people. But it is my joy and pleasure to invite Dr. Malka Shabtay to come forward now to offer us our sermon.
Shalom, Erev Tov, good evening to all of you. I am very excited because it came to my mind that 40 years ago, more or less, I discovered for the first time that there is something called Reform Judaism. Growing up in Israel, never heard before, and came to work in a summer camp in Waco, Texas, where I got the opportunity to read the Torah for the first time in my life. 40 years later, I'm here in the biggest ever synagogue I saw in my life. And I've been in many, all over the world. Some synagogues in that kind of structure, some small places that has been an opportunity for people to pray openly or secretly. And I'm going to share with you just a little bit about this special, amazing community that we are working with in collaboration with Rabbi Bennett, Susie Coleman, and other people that are joining us in America and Israel on behalf of the Jewish community in Ethiopia. Later on, I can share more about other communities that I'm working and involved throughout the world. So for 37 years, I've been working with Ethiopian Jews in Israel. I've been in Ethiopia, worked in the Israeli embassy, visited Ethiopia several times. And we thought we know all about Ethiopian Jews of Ethiopia. Most of them immigrated to Israel. 8,000 are still waiting and coming now to Israel that are known, for those of you, by the Falesmura or Faleshmura. But 25 years ago, I was in a conference in Venice, and there was a British Ethiopian professor who were presenting us with a community by the name Bet Avraham. We were all very surprised and told him, we know all about Ethiopian Jews already. There are no other Jews in Ethiopia. And he would start telling us his story about this community. We all heard it and forgot all about it. A year ago, I got a phone call from an Ethiopian friend who lives now in Ethiopia, and he said, I met on my job an Ethiopian Jew, other than those you think you already know. And they live in a very, very special and specific way of survival. I start talking to this guy and never stopped for the last year. 2 months later, I got a phone call from Susie, who came to Addis Ababa and met members of the community. And I will not tell you what are the amazing things that we started to do together, maybe by the end of my time. So here is the very The minimum I can tell you in this limited time. This community was created due to the fact that one of the Ethiopian kings who looked for art and craft people came to the Jewish villages of Beta Israel and picked up young people who could do the traditional arts and crafts that the Jews always did in Ethiopia. He invited them to the palace, they came along, and then he told them, you must accept the religion of the king. That means to become Christians. They became Christians just for the outside in order to survive. But they developed a whole unique system of survival. They immigrated to the North Ethiopia region, the poorest region in Ethiopia, to a mountain area, and very, very far away, they created a system of hidden synagogues. At that time of Professor Pankhurst to introduce us the community, there were 44 secret synagogues. But later on, and it is today, only 15 left. There were always pressure of the Coptic Church for them to give up their Jewish identity and religion and join the church. But the most significant element that brought them to hide and survive as much as they could is because of local traditional form of anti-Semitism. In Ethiopia, it is well known that the Jews turned to be hyenas in the middle of the night, and they suck the blood of the children and the other people. So every time there is a sick child or adult among the Gentiles, they come to the Ethiopian communities, to the Jewish Ethiopian communities, and look for a scapegoat. They usually get somebody and kill him in order to save, as they believe, their loved ones. No, they not only kill people, they come and burn the crops, the animals, and everything else that they can get. The Jews, who are art and craft people, when they go to sell their products in the market, it is accepted and it is well known that the Gentiles don't look at the eyes of the Jews. As they call them, they have the evil eye. Also, they have to use a piece of cloth to separate between themselves and the Jews. These Jews, the hidden Jews, live in several settlements. All together, we estimate, we are not sure 100%, and we estimate between 70 to 100,000 people of today. There are more that are still hidden, but more or less we have a community in the neighborhood called Kachane in Addis Ababa, where the community is concentrated, mostly the young generation, who decided not to continue and hide anymore, and they want to live their Jewish identity free and clear. They created synagogues. Once they had 2 synagogues, and at that moment I knew that we're talking about Jews, and right now we have only 1 because they got united. And then there is another Jewish neighborhood in the city, North Ethiopia, a city called Debre Berhan. There is another neighborhood of 10,000 people who live in very simple poverty life, but they still continue to do the art and craft, pottery, embroidery, and all the other necessary tools for use in the families. But we have 15, what we call in Ethiopia, gedams. It is like a place that is between monastery and a synagogue. Inside, they have a prayer place called Bet Mikdash, Bet Mikdash in Amharic, just like the old temple. Just they follow the rules of the old temple because they believed that they left Israel after the destruction of the first temple with Jeremiah to Egypt, to Yemen, and to Ethiopia. Now, these gedams are also a place that hosts the old people. When people become old and they cannot provide for themselves, they move to live in the gedams for the rest of their life. They also take care of the orphans of the community. Children that cannot be taken care of by other people are coming there and live together. The situation is that they are struggling for their survival, but they're keeping their belief that they came from Israel and one day they shall return to Israel. They also keep, they have special words that only this community use, like codes that they know that they belong to the same community. It is interesting, there is something else, a special symbol in these synagogues. It used to be in Ethiopia a kingdom, a Jewish kingdom, and the queen called Judith, Yehudit, Malka Yehudit. And then this Queen Yehudit had a special chair, the chair of Queen Yehudit. So in every synagogue, you find the chair of Queen Yehudit. And then they can connect themselves to Queen Yehudit. One more thing I would like to say. For many, many years, the elderly people who lived in the Gedam didn't teach and didn't transfer their Jewish identity to the young generation in order to protect them from the miserable life of those who had Jewish identity. People could not get a job, people could hardly survive, so they decided not to transfer their Jewish identity to the next generation. But in the year 2010, some of these young leaders decided that it's enough. They created the Zionist Organization of the Jews of Northern Shoah, and they opened up these two synagogues in Kachane, in Addis Ababa. These young people, most of them are educated, they all work in different works, they are teachers, some have business, one of them has a school that he owns, kindergarten that he owns, and so on and so on. And for many, many years they were trying to connect to the rest of the Jewish world. Sometimes, or sometimes before, one American organization came and visited them, but it didn't continue. They were trying to connect other people in Israel, but it didn't work out. But in the last year, due to this amazing collaboration of Susie, Rabbi Bennett, our colleague in Cleveland, and myself, we are moving towards these significant steps to assist the community, and we are only in the beginning. The first issue that we took upon ourselves is the process of recognition. We would like the government, the Israeli government, recognize this community as part of the rest of Ethiopian Jews. So we send a delegation that has been nominated by the religious authorities of the Ethiopian Jewish community in Israel, who have been there last month and are still working and analyzing the results of the documentations that they have brought. We are doing it because only when the religious authorities of the Ethiopian community in Israel will declare that this community is fully part of the Ethiopian Jews that are already in Israel, we will be able to go to the Supreme Court or to the other religious authorities in Israel to get the recognition for this community as just one more Jewish community, like all the others in the world. The second stage is because they live in such a harsh area in North Ethiopia, they suffer a lot from shortage of food and water. So we are just beginning to evaluate the possibilities for a large-scale agriculture and economic project. Agriculture is to help them to become self-sustained with their food issues. Economic, because we would like to help them to improve the products of their art and craft work and to be able to sell it better in the Ethiopian market, and who knows, maybe in America, Israel, and other places. So this is a large project. We already sent one delegation for feasibility study, and we are sending the second one, which I will join too during coming Pesach, and will complete the feasibility study and then prepare our large proposal to carry first stage, agriculture and economic project, and then health and education. Let me tell you that the community in Debre Berhan, for example, they do not send their children to schools, to government schools, because when the children get to the schools, they suffer from anti-Semitism, so they keep the children at home, and they don't get the educational opportunities the other children in the area get. The third issue that we are trying to move forward, two young people from the community dream to be rabbis. They dream to go to rabbinical schools in America or Israel and become the first rabbis of Ethiopian Jews. So as a first step, we are getting ready. We are preparing to send these two young people during May to another Jewish community in Africa, in Uganda, to Rabbi Gershom Sizamo, who is a conservative rabbi that studied in America and in Israel, and he opened the first yeshiva in Africa. So they will go there to start learning and practicing normative Judaism to get ready for rabbinical school. And fourth, we hope to be able to establish the infrastructure, the minimum infrastructure that we need to start sending Israeli volunteers from those who are doing backpacking or backpackers in Ethiopia that are ready to come and volunteer, teach Hebrew, help the kindergarten, help other issues, just slowly, slowly, until the government of Israel and the rest of the Jewish world will take responsibility. As soon as the community will be recognized, the Jewish Agency, the JDC, and other Jewish organizations will be able to come into the picture and assist this community. Our vision that in the next 3 years, this community will not have to hide anymore. This community can live as proud Jewish community, free of anti-Semitism and prejudice that they suffer in Ethiopia, will enjoy the knowledge and the care of Israel and the rest of the Jewish world, and will become just another Jewish community throughout the world, and just like you in Detroit, in Ethiopia. So before I will conclude, because I got very short time, I would like to tell you, we grew up, I'm sure that you know these two main motives that I'm going with throughout my work. One of them, it says, translation to English, he who saved one person of Israel saved the whole world. And the second one, Kol Israel arevim ze laze. All Israel are responsible for each other. So I would like to invite you to join us, to follow our work, to be involved, to visit, to support, because the most important thing that this community needs more than anything else is the feeling of care and belonging to this larger Jewish community of all over the world. Thank you very much.